Hello, this is Kenji, and welcome to another Wednesday Musings from the Spirit of New Earth. Today, I'd like to share with you some visions that I had as a teenager growing up in the Bay Area, California. I'm sharing this because perhaps it will help clarify perhaps some of the visions you had early on that you didn't understand. So here's the background of how it all started. So from my recollection, it must have started, the first one, I guess around the age of 13 or 14 or 15, somewhere around there. And this vision that I used to call a nightmare vision would occur about once a year for many years. It was almost like a repeat of the same visionary experience. But as a young kid, I wasn't into metaphysics at that time, so I had no foundation, I had no reference point to understand this experience. But it deeply affected my consciousness and my body. So what I remember is all of a sudden I have a high fever, and my mom would take the temperature and it'd be like 104.5, of which I knew that was very high and that could lead to instant death if not taken care of. And I remember her putting a washcloth with ice on my forehead because I told her I was burning up, man. I was like really on fire. And I would be laying on the couch in the living room and she would be like kneeling next to me on the floor, wondering if I was going to die or not. I mean, I could read her thoughts. I could feel her feelings. She was very concerned that I was very sick. But we never called the doctors. They never took me to the hospital. And I remember this fever would last 2 or 3 days, and always starting like on a Friday, so that I could by Monday go to school. It was kind of odd, right? So anyway, all of a sudden, I'm laying there on the couch, and all of a sudden, I'm kind of like sleeping, or like I'm totally out of my body. And I wake up, I become aware that I'm in a vortex, a spiraling kind of downwards vortex, and all I was with consciousness, I had no body. I just thought, oh, I just have eyes, and I'm seeing my being in this vortex. And if I let go into this vortex, I would explode into a million pieces in the universe and become no more Kenji. And I remember the sound of this vortex. It was like a roar. It was like a roar I've never heard before. And it was constant, swirling. I'm in the middle of this vortex. And I think I'm going to die if I let go. And then I would scream out to God, please God, don't let me die. And as soon as I said that, I'm back in my body. My body is shaking and shivering, and I'm sweating, and I'm full of fever. And I was so relieved, like I didn't die. And I didn't tell this to my parents. I didn't share what I was experiencing. They just were quite concerned. So I'm laying on the couch probably for the whole weekend, and then I'm able to go to school. This was like a high school, so I guess I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 14, 15 years old when I first started. And I remember, because we had to walk to school like 3 miles. No buses back then, no cars, right? No shuttle, walk or ride your bike. And anyway, I remember walking to school and I'm floating above the ground. I actually felt like I was floating rather than walking on the ground all the way to school. And I remember my body felt totally empty inside, like totally cleaned out. And it was such a good feeling to have like no stuff in my body. I remember that was a very distinct feeling. So the next time it happened, same thing. I have the fever, very high fever. I go into this visionary nightmare experience, the vortex, the roar, the sensation that if I let go, I would explode into a million stars and be no more personality Kenji. And that frightened me. And again, I screamed out to God, please God, don't let me die. And I'm back in my body, shaking and shivering, sweating all over the place, mom concerned. So that happened probably at least 3 times. But here's the interesting thing. When it happened the second time, in that experience, I go, oh, this is a repeat, exactly like before. And I thought that was a bit odd. Exact same experience. Now, did it change my life, my ability to learn in school? No. Oh, but here's what happened. I realize this now as I'm sharing this with you. So when I was a teenager in high school, we used to go in my buddy's car and we used to get a 6-pack of baby Coors, and I used to drink the whole thing. They were little tiny cans, but I loved the taste of Coors beer. But I remember, and I always sat in the front seat. After we'd have a number of beers, I would start channeling. I would become like the incarnate philosopher, like Plato or Socrates or somebody, right? I just remember starting talking, and all my buddies would just listen. And back then I didn't know it was channeling, but I just went to this altered state. And always the next day, totally don't remember anything that was said. Nothing. Like my memory was blank. But maybe, just maybe, those experiences helped me to open up my channeling abilities. And I didn't start really using it. Well, I guess I did. I started channeling when I would do exams in college. I remember I would go into this altered state and would just start writing, like automatic writing. I remember always on these exams and essays that I would do, I would go into these altered states. So I realized, and I thank God now that for those experiences to help me in my creative channeling and writing and content writing. Wow. So this should give you a clue. So sharing some of these experiences will give you insights as to why. So I feel very grateful now that the universe gave me those opportunities, even though I didn't know back then exactly what it was and what it was for, but now I realize. And obviously I had work to do. So if I had let go and surrendered completely, I maybe would have departed my incarnation. But I do remember the fever was very cleansing for my body, very cleansing. So that's some of the visionary experiences that I had growing up. I hope you can relate to this in your own way. And let's do something. Let's try an experiment. Let's see if we can recall and bring back that energy so that you can experience it in your own way. So we're going to time travel back to then when I was a young kid, going to school and having those visionary openings. Hearing the roar, seeing the gold energies just swirling. There was nobody there in that experience except the presence of creation. God was there, but it wasn't in form. It wasn't like a person. It was an energy. And obviously that vortex energy was a very cleansing energy for my body and my mind. So see if you can tap into that vortex of energy, very high dimensional energy. Hearing the roar, feeling the gold, feeling the power of the vortex. And we're going to ask for divine balance and harmony with any remnants of this experience that needs to be integrated into the body. Divine balance and harmony, easy, gentle integration into the body-mind, into the awareness. Gently opening up your healing channels, your channels of creativity and knowingness and beauty. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Universe. We love you.